What's going on, guys? Happy Easter. So we're going to do something different today. I get a lot of questions of what lure did you catch that on, and you seem to see a lot of that on Facebook, and a lot of people lately have been coming out saying, oh, I can't catch anything on lures and all this kind of stuff. So I thought I'd put together a quick little video on just pretty much your basics pack. So we'll start off with your rod and your reel. Okay, so this rod here is a Daiwa Gem Black. It says 2 to 6 kilo, and that's pretty much your stock standard kind of rod that you want. You want a 2 to 4 kilo, 2 to 6 kilo. It's actually quite thin rod. But I've caught everything on this, from the smallest salmon trout that you've probably seen in the latest videos, all the way up to, I've caught really big carp on it, like nearly, they're huge, they're like 80 centimeter carp. They're really good rod. So buy a high quality graphite rod in about 2 to 4 kilos. Your reel that you want is, this is an old Stratic. I actually use a Daiwa at the moment, but yeah, 2,500 size reel, and you want to spool that with 6 pound braid, okay? 6 pound or 8 pound braid, and that will sort you out for most of the fishing that we're targeting in this video, which is brim, flathead, salmon trout, all your basic species that are easy to catch. Well, besides brim, they can be very finicky. All those kind of species. Now, you want to learn an FG knot if you can. If not, do 2 blood knots together to join your braid to your leader. Now, leader size, the lighter you go, the more bites you are going to get. It's as simple as that. If you're comfortable with getting busted off and even losing lures to snags where you can't pull it out, then go 4 pound. For salmon trout and brim, flathead, Adelaide doesn't really have big flathead compared to Victoria and New South Wales and Queensland. So 4 pound will sort you. If not, go your stock standard 6 pound fluorocarbon leader. I just go 6 pound because I hate losing lures, so I've stayed away from 4 pound for a while. Okay, so you got your basic kit down. Now, the lures that you want to be using, if you are brand new to lures or if you're having trouble using soft plastics, are grubs. You want to be using grub style plastics. Now, everyone has probably heard of this or been mentioned of it. So it's a Z-Man Grubs motor oil colour in 2.5 inch. Now, I think every fish has been, like, there's so many fish that have been caught on this. This one's fallen apart. But they are the most versatile lure. The brim guys love them. Flathead guys love them. The mullerways being caught on them by the brim guys, targeting them. Everything. Flathead, they're just perfect. Salmon trout, love them. Salmon. You cannot fault this lure. And the best thing about them is the action is all in the tail. So all you got to do is pretty much cast it out, let it hit the bottom, give it 2 flicks of the rod, it'll go down, and then flutter back down. It is the most easiest way to get into soft plastics and start them. Another option you can use is squidgies. Got some here. You can use squidgy wrigglers, squidgy prawns. I like these prawn ones, they're pretty cool. I've seen them caught plenty of decent fish and flathead on these. Bloodworm colour. Same thing, not as much as a tail on them, tail action, as compared to the Z-Mans. And the Z-Mans will sit there and their tail will float up and waft in the current because they're buoyant, where these ones don't do it as much. They kind of flop down a bit. They're your 2 good options there. For any colour really, but I do stay mostly with, if I'm going to use a grub, I'm going to use a motor oil grub, just because I've had the most success on it and I just feel really comfortable with them. Another option is a colour called Midnight Oil, and they have a fleck through them. You see that? And they're all UV as well, so they shine up better in the water. The fish can see them All right. So also, if you want to use scents, you get half the time you get S factor with your squidgies. I don't know. I don't use it half the time. Some guys swear by it. Some guys just don't use it. But if you got it for free, it can't hurt to use it. So might as well give it a crack. All right. So the next thing we've got to talk about is jig heads. Now jig heads can be super confusing because there are so many weights and so many different sizes and even types of jig heads. The best way to look at it is the lightest you can get away with to get down to the bottom and increase that flutter time of the plastic getting down there, the better. So you've got to take into account the tide, how much wind there is as well, and you got to make sure that you're matching the right weight to get to the bottom at the right time. You also want to always be in touch with your lure and feel the lure, otherwise you're just going to miss your bites, and you'll just occasionally get lucky and hook up. If I was to say we're fishing West Lakes, and we're targeting salmon, trout, brim, and flathead, I think I would go with a 1/12 jig head. It's got a bit of weight still, but it's also light enough. I've caught plenty of brim on that jig head. A lot of blokes go a lot lighter. I've got one here that's a 1/24. As you can see, it's really, really light. And you can throw that around the pontoons and all that kind of stuff. And that's going to sink really, really slow. Another option for pontoons, and it gets a more natural, instead of just bombing, it'll go down like that, and that's the hidden weight system. I think that's a 1/20th. I've only just started using them, but they seem to work pretty good. Not as much for salmon, trout, or flatties, but for your brim, definitely works really well. Now, if you just wanted to get out there and just bomb some real long casts and target up some salmon, trout, because they're not fussy at all, and even flathead, because with the flathead, you want your lure to hit the ground and make a little puff, and then a couple of double hops and puff again. Go something heavy, so you can get a nice long cast, a 1/6, even go a 1/4, depending on what the current's doing. And also another 1/8 is a good option. But if you're going to buy one pack of jig heads, go with your 1/12, because they are a good size for pretty much about everything that you're going to encounter around here. Righto guys, so you got all your gear and you're ready to go. So you got to rig these soft plastics straight, otherwise they just won't work as well. So with this grub, is two ways. That way is the wrong way. You want to rig it so it's got that little groove, whatever you want to call it, going down. You see it like that. That way, not as much curl, plenty more curl. Also, there is a line that runs down the center of the body towards the tail. And you want to line your jig head up with that. Okay. It does take a bit of practice. I'm pretty crap at it still, to be honest. It takes me a few times to get it right. But you want to feed it on while keeping it straight. Oh, it's not too bad. They can be tricky to bung on sometimes. But that's not a bad effort. You can see that's pretty good. It's fairly straight. Yeah, I'd be happy with that. I'd fish that, and that should be fine. But the main thing is to get them relatively straight, because if you're well off, if it's out here or somewhere and it's just not looking good and it's not swimming well, then you're not going to catch as much fish. So what you want to do is put it in the water and see how it drops. If it drops nice and it looks fine, then you'll be right to fish. But I'd definitely be happy with that. I'd fish that. So practice makes perfect on them ones. But remember to get them straight, otherwise it doesn't be as effective. Alright, so we're going to have a look at some footage here on how to do the double hop retrieve for soft plastics. Now this retrieve will be your stock standard retrieve that you will probably most likely do a lot of the time, unless you're just ripping off the top, which is a cast and then just to wind back a couple of inches down off the top. Another one you could also do, which I'm not going to show footage of because it's pretty basic, is you cast it out and you let it hit the bottom and you just slow wind it off the bottom all the way back to you. You can also stop halfway, let it hit the bottom again and wind again. That one's called a slow roll. They're both very basic retrieves, but the one that you need to practice the most is a double hop. And let's look at that footage now.
Okay, so this is your main retrieve. This will be the double hop off the bottom. So you can use this for jerk shads, your grubs, anything pretty much. It's a pretty standard cast and retrieve. So what you want to do is you want to get your nice long cast out there. That's it. Now watch your line, wind up that slack a little bit, and then watch your line all the way to the bottom. Have that little bow in it. And there you go, it's hit the bottom. So you can let it sit there for a couple seconds if you want. Wind up your slack a touch. Flick, flick, like that. It's hit the bottom. Flick, flick. Hit the bottom. Flick, flick. You just got to watch that line the whole time. Have a little bow in it. There you go. Wind up. Flick, flick. Little bow. Watch it till it hits the bottom. There you go, hits the bottom. You can let it sit there for a couple seconds if you want. Wind up. Flick, flick. You can either just do one lift, slow lift, one up slack, let it hit the bottom. There it goes. Double one. You can do triples, you can do whatever you like. That's your main cast that you need to get good at. So that'll catch you heaps of stuff, everything. You gotta remember you're working the whole water column. So if this retrieve does not work and you see fish out there, try the one along the top, try a slow roll, try whatever works until you catch them. And if it doesn't work, maybe try a different lure or move on. Try bigger hops, smaller hops, whatever works until you catch that fish. Or you find what they like, and then you can just keep repeating it.
Well, there you go, guys. I hope that's helped a few of you out. I know it can be very daunting switching over to soft plastics or even using them for the first time. I know I've had days where I feel like I'm useless and don't know what I'm doing. You just got to keep persisting, keep trying different things, look for clues. If you see birds working the surface, you should probably be doing more surface action casts around that area. Try and work the whole water column of the area you're fishing. Break it up, one area here, alright, I'm going to work the top, do a few off the top. I'm going to do a slow roll about midway of the water. I'm going to do some double hops along the bottom. Doesn't work along that area, move to another area, try the same thing. That's a really good way to work an area. Also, with your casts, if you're watch your line, always have that little bow in there, and when it hits the bottom, you'll see it go limp, and that's when you know you're on the bottom. That's another key factor. When you're watching your line go down and you got that nice little bow, watch for a ping or a pull or something. You'll also most likely feel it through your rod, but sometimes it'll be a very, very, very subtle bite, and it can still be a large fish. I caught my mulloway, and it was the tiniest little ping, and I've just noticed it, and I gave it a little tap, and that's when I felt a bit more weight and striked. You just got to be aware of that stuff. It will definitely help you go a long way. But just keep persisting. That is the best advice I can give you. Just keep trying, keep casting, because you're not going to catch fish if you're not casting. Anyway, I hope you like this video. If you could like, subscribe and share, all that kind of stuff, that'd be great. I plan on doing a few more videos like this year. salmon season's coming up, so I'm going to run you through what gear I use for casting lures off the surf. It's definitely my most favourite type of fishing, and I'm so excited to be in South Australia this year and hitting up those bigger fish. It's going to be awesome. Anyway, guys, have a good Easter, and see you on the next one. Bye.